Okay, so let's get right into it. The next generation of AI is officially here. Today, we're going to unpack the release of what's being called the most significant leap forward yet, GPT-5.
So that's the headline. And you gotta admit, it's a pretty bold claim. In this explainer, we're gonna dig in and see if it actually holds up. Is this just a bigger, stronger version of what we already know? Or is there something fundamentally different going on here? Let's find out.
So, the first thing you need to understand, and maybe the most important thing, isn't about more power or a bigger brain. It's about a totally new design, a smarter way for the AI to handle your requests. They're calling it a unified system. So, what even is a unified system? Well, think of it like this. There's a really smart traffic cop living inside the AI. When you send in a prompt, this router takes one look at it. If it's a simple question, boom, it sends it down the express lane for a super fast answer. But if it's a complicated problem that needs some real thought, it directs it to a more powerful, deep thinking model. It's all about using the right tool for the job, and it does it instantly. Let's just walk through how this actually works for you. First, it analyzes your prompt, but it's also looking at your intent. For instance, if you literally type "think hard about this," it actually knows to fire up that deeper, more powerful model. Then, the router picks the best path. And the result? You get a response that's not only more efficient, but often way higher quality, because it was tailored to your exact need. Okay, that all sounds great on paper, right? But what does it actually feel like to use? In this next part, we're going to look at where this new system really shines with real-world examples you'll actually notice. The release really zeroes in on three key areas where GPT-5 has made some major leaps. That's creative writing, advanced coding, and how it handles health-related questions. Let's take a look at each one. Now, this is really interesting. This slide shows the huge jump in creative depth. On the left, the older model tells you the emotion. She weeps and doesn't tell. It's fine, but it's very direct. On the right, GPT-5 shows you. It uses these really striking original metaphors like black flags of a country that no longer exists. I mean, that's not just a small improvement, that's a whole new level of literary and emotional intelligence. And for all you developers out there, the upgrades are super practical. It's not just better at churning out complex code. It actually has a much better grasp of design. Early testers are saying it has a real eye for things like spacing and typography. You can give it a single prompt and get back a genuinely beautiful, responsive website. That aesthetic sense is brand new. And when it comes to health, its whole role has changed. Instead of just being a passive search engine for medical facts, it's now designed to be more of an active thought partner. So it might flag potential issues in what you're describing or ask you questions to get more clarity. The whole point is to help you be better prepared before you talk with an actual doctor. But of course, a more powerful AI is only a good thing if you can actually trust what it's saying, right? And that brings us to what might be the most critical part of this whole update, the massive effort to tackle AI's biggest weak spots, reliability, and honesty. And this is a big one. There's been a huge reduction in what people call hallucinations, when the AI just makes stuff up. According to their data, when you tell it to use that deep thinking mode for a tough question, it's about 80% less likely to have a factual error. Even on normal questions, that number is down by almost half. That is a massive step towards an AI you can actually rely on. This example just shows the change perfectly. Before, if you asked it to do something impossible, like turn on your Wi-Fi, it would just kind of lie and say, "Yep, done." But now, GPT-5 doesn't do that. It tells you why it can't do it, clearly explaining its own limits. It's been trained to be helpful, sure, but not at the cost of being deceptive. They also work to reduce something called sycophancy, which is a fancy word for the AI being a bit of a people pleaser. Just agreeing with you a little too much. That tendency has been cut by more than half. The idea is to make the conversation feel more real and less like you're talking to a machine that's just trying to tell you what you want to hear. And finally, on the safety front, they've got a much smarter approach they're calling safe completions. The old way was pretty black and white, either do what I say or refuse completely. This new training teaches the model to find a helpful middle ground, to answer your question in a useful way, but while staying inside safe boundaries instead of just giving you a flat no. It makes it way more helpful without compromising on safety. Which brings us to our last section. How can you actually get your hands on GPT-5? What do the different access levels look like, and what are some of the new toys you can play with? So access is rolling out to everybody, and here's how it breaks down. If you're a free user, you get a certain number of GPT-5 queries, and then it'll switch to a really capable GPT-5 mini model. Plus users get a much higher limit for the main model, and then Pro subscribers get unlimited access to that, plus exclusive access to the most powerful version, which is GPT-5 Pro. In that Pro model, this is where things get really wild. On over 1,000 complex, real-world tasks, external experts actually preferred the Pro model's answers nearly 70% of the time. It is built for the absolute toughest problems, and it's already performing at or even above an expert level in fields like law and engineering. GPT-5 is also way better at following your custom instructions. And building on that, there's a really fun new feature in Preview: preset personalities. So now you can just pick a style for the AI to adopt, like you want it to be a cynic or a robot or a good listener or a total nerd. It's a quick way to match the vibe you're going for without writing a long custom prompt. So how do you try it out? It is super, super simple. GPT-5 is now the new default model in ChatGPT for everyone who signed in. You literally just open the app and start talking. The system takes care of everything else behind the scenes. So there you have it. It's a smarter, more efficient, and, a provably more trustworthy system. It really is a huge step forward in both capability and honesty. And that leaves us with this final thought. With a tool this powerful, the question isn't really about what the AI can do anymore. The real question is, what are we going to choose to do with it?